So as E3 2021 comes to a close, Nintendo was the one to pretty much close it out with a Nintendo Direct presentation that I thought was pretty good. There's a couple of things in here I want to dive into that have me really excited, some things I want to talk about. So the first thing I think we should acknowledge, though, no Nintendo Switch Pro, no Super Nintendo Switch, whatever the hell we were calling it. Not a thing here, despite the rumors and all the leaks and all those types of things. No Switch Pro showed up, especially considering a lot of reports are suggesting that this is going to be a thing that releases this holiday season, which is crazy when you think about it, despite all of the other hardware shortages out there. Still, if this is a thing, like the rumors heavily suggest some good reporting that I don't think you need to totally take with a grain of salt. Oh, they'll probably do some random surprise drop direct presentation. Hopefully, I'm hoping now by the end of the summer if it's not here. Or maybe we're all crazy. Maybe the pandemic and maybe us all being so online 24/7 has led us to just create a console that doesn't exist because Nintendo doesn't care about graphics and maybe they're not making it. Now I'm just tinfoil hatting. Where was I? Oh yeah, video games. So the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things I really liked here was Metroid Dread. They announced a new Metroid game, and it's the name of another cool thing. I can't do a Carl Urban Judge Dredd impression, but I am going to take a second to just, hey, wasn't that good? Wasn't that Dread movie really good? I feel like everybody forgot about that. I was very happy they made that, especially in that indie style. I should revisit that in a video. Anyway, where was I? Metroid Dread. So what they're doing here is a new two-dimensional Metroid game in that classic style. They've been saying this is like the mainline, I guess technically Metroid 5, the first like mainline real 2D Metroid game in 19 years, but I say, hold on a second, Samus Returns, technically it was a remake of Metroid 2, but Samus Return that released in 2017 for the 3DS was so good. It was so good, and it looks a lot like this, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Yes, maybe you could say graphically, like whatever with this, but gameplay-wise, Samus Returns was so awesome, and the fact that this is kind of continuing that vibe, we got to see a lot, specifically from the Treehouse presentation afterwards. We got to see a lot more gameplay with the Emmy robot that is kind of pursuing you, and you have to outrun it, but in like Metroid style. We got to see a bunch of cool new abilities. We got to see the fact that she has a really cool, slick new suit, and just kind of like a general sci-fi horror thing going on with Metroid here, which is always something that's kind of been one of the Metroid inspirations. But the way they're tackling it here with like these unstoppable robots in these more cramped sections is so like I'm so about it. I'm excited to see that this is dropping October 8th, 2021. So I'm really looking forward to playing that on Switch. Interestingly enough, I like that the developers in that typical Japanese presentation fashion came out and they were like, hey, we're working on Metroid Prime 4. Development is continuing. Please be excited. So that's coming eventually. I was hoping we would get some sort of Metroid Prime collection this year because I would love to replay those on Nintendo Switch. You know, Metroid Prime, the original, is one of my favorite games of all time. So yeah, but that's where we're at. I still think this is really good. Don't sleep on this. Even if you're turned off by like a 2D game, if you've never played a Metroid before, this could be good. Keep it on your radar at least. A couple of smaller things I wanted to talk about. WarioWare, Get It Together, a new WarioWare game. These games were amazing. Did you ever play these? Like they were on Game Boy Advance, a lot of them, and they were so special and quirky, and then eventually they evolved and involved motion controls, so I assume this one is going to incorporate motion controls. And what these games are just like intense minigame collections that are so outside the box and weird and creepy and pervert. It's almost like Adult Swim style minigames. I love these, and I really hope this one is good. It seems like they're going in a little bit of a different direction with more of an emphasis on playing with one other person and more character-based things where the characters have different abilities and they carry over to different minigames. That to me kind of freaks me out just because the charm of the original games, at least, the first few, was really the whole, like, every single mini game that happens a mile a minute is completely out there and completely designed differently. So with some uniformity here, maybe that kind of is going to take away from it. I don't know. I'm still going to absolutely give it a shot because I love it. I love this series so much, especially because it's just such a weird one. It's not one that you really think of immediately, but it's another thing like totally underrated. Don't sleep on it. And that kind of seemed to be the theme here with like mid 2000s nostalgia. We got like a Super Monkey Ball collection. Was never super big on those, but we also got the reveal of a new Advance Wars. Well, it's technically like a remake, rebuild of the original 2 games. So this is called Advance Wars 1 and 2. What is it called? Reboot Camp. That's what it's called. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. This is releasing December 3rd of this year, which is another very nice thing to look forward to for the end of the year. But it looks gorgeous. It looks like such a good reimagining of Advance Wars. I hope they don't tweak the gameplay too much. They did just confirm that it is going to have online multiplayer with up to 3 other players, if counting you. So that's pretty sweet. I feel like this is exactly what a lot of people have been wanting, like low key, not really like begging for it for an E3 presentation like this. But a lot of us have talked about Advance Wars for years, and kind of it's one of those games where you're like, remember Advance Wars? Yeah, that was sweet. So here we are. This is good. Yes, is it another remake thing? I know people are kind of getting sick of those, but for something like this, for a game this special and unique, and now on Switch, I'll take it. But these things that I've talked about so far, and a couple of other things in the announcement that aren't really my bag, so to speak, are nice because they're late 2021 releases. So again, I think it's important to just point out that, like, despite some development issues for a lot of the big companies, I'm glad we have things to play. This is nice. Now, another thing that I was happy to see that's really meaningless to a lot of you is Tony Hawk is getting ported to Nintendo Switch. The Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake, that's going to be soon. June 25th, it's releasing, and I'm a piece of crap. I'm gonna double dip, dude. To play Tony Hawk on the go like that, yes. As you guys probably know, I've talked about it a lot on this channel. It's one of my favorite video game franchises ever, and it did the thing that they do with marketing these newer ones, is that the trailers show gameplay, and they're not doing good combos. That's totally me being like an elitist gaming snob. But every time in these trailers, when like they do a good trick, and then they don't revert to manual or kickflip in between manuals and jumps and tricks, it hurts. But of course, the biggest thing, and maybe the reason why you clicked on this video, Breath of the Wild 2. I'm so glad they showed something, finally. I wish they showed a little more. I was expecting this presentation to at least end with tune in July for a direct focused around Breath of the Wild completely. They didn't do that. They probably still will. I need to see like a full deep dive. It's coming in 2022, and a lot of the things like the verbiage of Nintendo's descriptions seem like it could slip to 2023, which is insane. I think they've been working on this for such a long time, but I'll wait, whatever, at this point. This looks cool. It looks very much like a continuation of Breath of the Wild, a little darker, but also not really. From some of the things that they immediately opened up with, I went, wow! Those opening 2 shots in particular, falling from the sky, and also the one where it was seemingly Link running with the long flowing hair with the shield on his back and like the fall trees and the sunset in front of him. Just stunning stuff. A couple of things I did want to point out is that it seems like there are different lengths of hair for Link. We've seen long flowing hair, regular Link hair, ponytail hair. I really think like they also barely showed his face in the trailer, so I'm almost thinking like there is going to be a lot of Zelda. Like there's been speculation in the past, like playing as Link and Zelda. I don't know, whatever. Regardless, it looks really cool. It looks gorgeous. There's this whole new sky element where you're exploring these like mountains and cliffs and plateaus in the skies above Hyrule, which it seems like they're going crazy with this one in terms of like fantasy, weird craziness, and I'm all about it. Like the fact too that we get to see what seems like Link with the messed up arm and the long hair and like the ripped up clothes is like, are we getting like Exile Link? Like, are we? That's so different, and I'm in. Especially considering what this is. This is a sequel specifically to Breath of the Wild. As Zelda fans, we don't see this that much, so I'm willing to see them stray from the typical pillars of a Zelda game, the typical archetypes, you know, the green tunic, the regular sword shield hero boy thing. So if they put him in weird situations and change up the world a lot like it seems to be doing, I'm in. I also really liked that this trailer emphasized the whole like powers and ability stuff, like the things you're going to be doing, because I think Nintendo realized that really took off, all the powers, chaining them together and just manipulating the world and doing crazy stuff in Breath of the Wild. You've seen the YouTube clips, so it seems like they're rolling with that and giving a lot of cool new puzzle-like and combat-like abilities that like could shake the flow up a lot. Like, we can't tell so far, but at the very least, I like what I'm seeing, and just tonally, atmospherically, and the fact that there's a point where the music is played backwards and it's actually, I think, the original Breath of the Wild theme. Like, they're doing cool, weird stuff here. So if this is going to be like the weird Zelda game, the weird, dark, bastard child Zelda game that also seemingly is taking a long time to make. Also, somebody pointed out that the trailer on Nintendo's YouTube channel is 1080p 60? It's 60 FPS. It kind of looks 60 FPS as you watch it. So, of course, then there's the Switch Pro speculation. I mean, it's hard to tell. There's a lot more hair effects. I see slightly different lighting in some situations, but that's, you really can't get much from this. Again, most important thing I just want to point out, a lot of things to look forward to. We got some things for 2021. We got a couple things far in the future. So thanks, Nintendo. Pretty good E3 presentation, and overall, a fairly quiet middle E3. I'm definitely going to probably round up my favorite things from all the events, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But I want to hear from you guys. This kind of worked for our Xbox video. What I want to hear from you in the comments is if you can pick two things from the Direct that you really enjoyed. If you can narrow it down to two, and that might be tricky, I don't know, maybe not. Definitely let me know. I want to hear that from you guys. I didn't do two. Obviously, I talked about a bunch more, but if I had to narrow it down to two, I would say Metroid Dread and Breath of the Wild 2. But let me know yours. Definitely want to hear what you think about Breath of the Wild 2. Anything else revealed at all, let's talk. I always say it, but if you like what I'm doing here, just talking about stuff I love, stuff I enjoy, clicking the like button helps me. I would really appreciate that for that damn stupid algorithm. Kidding aside though, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider it and hitting that notification bell, because I only put out a few videos a week, so I won't spam you, but thank you guys for watching. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.